So we were talking about imposter syndrome.
We were. And we gave one tip on how to overcome it. And we want to leave you with some more because I think one tip is great, but we have a lot more. And if you read the book, you'll definitely get the whole analysis and the whole perspective that we have on this. But we want to give you at least a few.
I do want to give you at least one more tip about, and the thing I want to talk about is setting realistic goals and expectations.
Yeah.
Because I think that really is part of what can feed into the perfectionist mindset.
Yeah.
What you've actually done is you've set a very unrealistic, unreachable goal. Yeah. And then when you don't reach it, because you simply couldn't reach it, not because you're flawed, but because it was impossible to reach the way you had set it or the amount of time that you might have set for yourself, then you feel like a failure or you feel like it's not perfect. And I think setting realistic goals and expectations for yourself is really one of the best ways to overcome that perfectionism that you might be dealing with. And we were discussing earlier about setting a big goal, a long-term goal. Long-term goals are good, but breaking it down into smaller goals because that's really the way you reach
short-term goals.
Short-term goals, whether short-term is 1 month or 1 week or 1 day, it doesn't really matter. It depends on what your goal is, whether your goal is to publish a novel, your goal is to produce a music album, your goal is to open an art gallery. That's, a bigger long-term goal. I will feel like I have succeeded when I open an art gallery. It's like, okay, well, that's fine, but what does it take to open an art gallery? What size space do you have? What kind of art do you have? Because if you paint versus life-size sculpture, you need a different kind of space. How much does it cost to rent it? How many pieces do you need to fill the space?
Right.
And so I want to open my own art gallery by next year. Well, that's a good goal, but break it down into actionable steps to find out what you need to do to actually reach that goal. Because if you just say, I want to open an art gallery by next year, and then you don't because the rental on the space cost more than you thought it would.
Right.
You realize you didn't have enough pieces finished to fill the space, and then you feel like a failure because you didn't reach your goal.
Yeah.
Whereas that's not the case at all.
And sometimes you got to do a little research because this might be your first time doing something. Like the first time I recorded an album, I didn't know that some people record albums over 5 years. You know what I mean? And so here I am thinking I could do it in 6 months or 3 months. And some people do that too. But the reality is someone who had never done it before coming in and doing it so quickly is usually not the case. So just keeping that in mind, doing a little research to figure out what a timeline looks like on average. I think that's great.
Yeah, doing research to find out what a realistic timeline is for other people in your industry who've already done what you want to do.
Yeah.
And then breaking that down into goals that you can accomplish. You want goals that will stretch you and make you work for them, but you don't want a goal that's so far out there that you're never going to reach it, and then when you don't reach it, you feel like a failure. And I think that is part of what can feed into imposter syndrome. And so setting smaller goals that you can achieve.
Right. Yeah.
Then you've actually accomplished something. And that's at a similar point to that is celebrate small successes.
Oh, that's good.
That can really help with the perfectionism, with imposter syndrome, with feeling like a fraud. It's like, celebrate the small successes. Small victories are worth celebrating.
They are, yeah. And even though I don't feel like they are, I know we all go through it,
Yeah, it's like...
My mom is always thinking I'm a famous YouTube star. And she's like, this video got 10,000 views. And I'm like, but... In my mind, imposter syndrome says, but a great video gets 100 million views because that's what Taylor Swift pulls in. But I'm not Taylor Swift and I really don't even want to be Taylor Swift. So why am I worried about being like Taylor Swift? 10,000 views is like 10,000 people, or not necessarily 10,000 people, but 10,000 times this video has been watched. Mm-hmm. That's great.
That's a big deal.
It's a big deal. So celebrate.
Yeah, exactly. And, maybe my goal is to, have a number of published, well-read novels out there. But, I still celebrate when I write a blog post and 2 people click like.
Or and one
do
a comment or
and
one person
clicks comment and says, thank you for writing this, this really helped, or I was really excited to read this. Yeah. It's like, yeah, but it was just a blog post and one person commented. It's like, well, yeah, it's not my goal of publishing 3 different novel series, but it's a success. Mm-hmm. And it influenced somebody. It got my name out there.
And it added value to
someone's life. It added value to someone's life. It proved to myself that, hey, I'm a real writer because I wrote a blog post. Writers write. So, singers sing, artists produce their art. So it may not be my ultimate big end goal, but hey, celebrate.
It's doing something.
I wrote something and somebody liked it. You know?
That's great.
So I think setting realistic goals, breaking your big goals down into small goals so you can see what it actually is going to take to reach a big goal, and then celebrate when you hit those little goals. If you've broken your big goal down into small goals and you hit one of them, even if it's just the first one and it was a small thing, celebrate it, because it means growth, it means progress, it means you're on your way and you're not a fake at all.
So question to you before we move on from this actual chapter to the next one: what can you be celebrating right now in your career and your artistic pursuit? What can you celebrate?